Hello, my name is David and welcome to David Computes. In this video, I would like you to show how you can use Python to backtest one of your trading systems. Recently, I've done a video, I'll post a link above, where I tested this very same system using a spreadsheet. So I thought it would be interesting to do the very same system, but this time using Python. Now, before we start, I would like to say that this is not a Python tutorial. I just want to show you how you can do very easy steps in Python and backtest your system. So, although I will not be explaining every single line of code, I will explain some points and hope this is useful. Again, the way the code is written is just to do it as quickly as possible. It's not about efficiency or writing clean code. This is how I improvise and write the code as I need it. Having said that, the code I'll be writing today, I've wrote it before, so I'm basically rewriting the code. I thought it would be better than seeing all the iterations as if I was writing the code from scratch. Perhaps I can do that in a different video, but it will definitely be longer because of that. On the screen you're looking at, I'm using Spyder as my IDE for Python. My Python distribution is Anaconda. You can, of course, use whatever distribution you want, whatever IDE you want. This is just what I use here. There's no specific requirement. Okay, to start, our system is what I've called before is the two consecutive up candles. So we're going to select two up candles that have a body size bigger than an X value, so will be our filter. The relationship between the two candles is not important, so the second candle does not have to have a higher candle, a higher high than the first candle, and so forth. We'll only be holding one open trade at a time, so until that trade gets closed, either because the stop was hit or the target was hit, no other trades will be open. But as we go through the code, that will become more obvious. Okay, so having said that, let's just create here a quick comment. So I like to put some comments on my code, so when I return to my code later, be it in a few days later or many weeks or months later, it will be easier for me to understand what I've done and sort of quickly get back to it if I want to do further changes or just understand the code. So I'm just going to say a backtesting of the two consecutive up candle system. It's just a brief note, it's not a full explanation. So I decided to use the things that I use most when I'm writing Python scripts to backtest systems. And one of the things that you could easily do is use lists for everything. But what I'm going to be using is data frames from Pandas. It's very useful. There's a lot of functions already written for it. It's a fantastic library. So I'm going to use that here. So the first thing we'll do is to import Pandas, and I'm going to create a shortcut, just call it PD. So import Pandas as PD. So I'm going to put a comment as well, pardon. Right, so that's our start. So the next thing we need to set up is we need to say, I was going to say we need to say where our data is. For this exercise, and as in most cases in backtesting I do, I have my data in a CSV file, in a comma separated value file, because I find it's very easy to get the data in that format. It's very easy to obtain it from elsewhere. In this case, I've obtained the data from TradingView, which is an application that I do use. But there's other sources out there of historical data that you can use to backtest. So whatever it is, in this case, I'm just assuming it's in CSV format. So what I'm going to do here is basically just create a reference for that. So let's put it this way. So so this is will be our data file. We're going to be calling it we'll be calling it what? We'll be calling it data file. Let's just keep it like that. And then I'm going to add the path where I have my file. So in this case, it's in the D partition. In your case, of course, whatever you have the file and the temp directory, and it's just called sp hourly, because in this case my file has hourly data, so the candles or bars represent hours, and it's all the way from the beginning of January 2015 to the 1st of September this year. So again, it doesn't matter, this is just the name of the file that contains my data. So once we have that, so we have our file there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to load this data into a data frame. Again, you could have used a list or another structure, but I find this is the best way to do it. So let's create here a data frame for this. Let's just call it data, or my data. Let's just call it data. And so we're calling pandas, and we're going to use a function that's already there, which is called read CVS, pardon, or SCV, and get this function to load our data. So it's going to get the data from the data file, and the other thing is from my file. I actually should perhaps show the file. So this is the file. It has 5 columns with our data: a date time, an open, high, low, and close. I'm going to use the date time, so the column, the first column, as our index for our data frame, and then of course the open, high, low, and close is our data. So this is, as I said, from beginning from January 2015 all the way to the 1st of September. So it's 11,725 rows. So 24 if you only if you discard the labels there. So that's the file we're working in. So yes, this out of the way. So I need to parse the dates for our data frame, and I need to tell it which column contains our index. So the parse dates, and we're going to so the name of the column that we're going to parse is date time. If you from what I just showed you now from the file, obviously in your case is whatever you called it. And we're going to say that the index column here will be the first column. So as always in Python, first column is brackets 0. And then I need to format so that it so as you saw, I'm bringing it again. The format of my date time, I have it on day /month /year, and then hour column minutes. So we need to put this on the date time format. So we've created here a parser. So we're going to use the date parser from the data frame, and let's call it just date parse. And the best way what we can do here is create an anonymous function to parse this data. So date parse will be equals to lambda. So an anonymous function, as I said. So let's call it dates, and then we'll use a pandas, again another pandas function to convert our string from the CSV file into a date time. So it's just called to date time, and then we're going for, let's call D for each one of it for date, which is each one of our roles, and we're going to tell it what format we have currently, which is, I say it was day / month and / year, and then it has a space, and it was hours column minutes, right? So that's the format of our data, and then we're going to parse through each one of the rows on our data. So for each date in dates, we go through that, and there we go. So we have our okay, there's a typo here. because I caps lock and I didn't notice that. Right, there you go. So we've loaded our data file into our data frame. We can just check the state, the health thing here. Let's just call the info function on our thing, and let's execute this code and see what happens. There you go, and we've successfully compiled the code. We can see here it loaded 11,724 rows, which matches our file, of course. We can see our 4 columns of data. Of course, the 5th column being the date time, which is our index, is not shown here, but you can see here the entries. So it all looks good. So far, so good. So now that we have loaded our data into a data frame, we can actually start writing the code. I'm filming this after finishing the first video. I just decided to break this video into smaller bits. So I'm going to stop the first video here and we'll carry on the second video, trying to keep these videos short, otherwise it'll be very long. So don't forget to check the next video if you want to follow up on this quick Python demonstration for this backtesting. Thank you very much.